Hello everybody, Всем привет. Today I'm going to talk about what I built yesterday. Added a few features, fog of war, got some map things fixed. Just waiting for the game to boot up here. So I'm going to go into Claw, the original Claw map here. And hold on. Let's see if we can keep that at a fixed space. And then over here on the right side, this is my current build version. I'm going to scroll all the way down, and I basically have the fog of war working. I also implemented the map cheat, which allows you to see the whole map. I thought that would be useful for debugging. And if you'll notice from yesterday, I was having problems with sprite stretching and certain missized, like the alchemist slab. Like, see the roof here is like peeling off a little bit, and these are misaligned, and this is misaligned, and these sprites are all stretched. And it occurred to me that actually the game tile is like a standard 32 pixel by 32 pixel, and it just looked to me like it was being stretched or manipulated in some way. And so what I ended up doing was saying, hey, AI, take a look at this resource 32 spec, and it highlights what the actual widths are in some of these. So some of these were being stretched to 32 by 32. Some of them don't have, like, some of them have different heights. So this is what was causing that distortion. So I basically said, hey, you should look at this and probably use the actual widths and heights instead of the this made up 32 by 32 that's causing this distortion. So when I did that, and the only spec that I actually uploaded was just this resource 32 XML file, and that also fixed some of, like, I was having some distortions with the castle. The different castles were kind of expanding beyond their boxes. Some of these resources were actually getting stretched in strange ways. One of the most noticeable ones was the alchemist slab here, the mercury refinery. We still have, what bugs do we have here? We still have the shipwreck mast. We still don't have animation for the monsters. We still don't have the animation of, like, the fire and the mercury drip here. We still don't have the wave breaking animation, and some of the, we don't have the animation here on the fountain, for example. That's something I'm planning to add at a later point. What I also added yesterday was this this stone border around the edge. I can actually show you what the stone tile map looks like. So these are the actual tiles that are used for, oh, whoops, it's these. So these are the actual tiles that are used for making this, and there's a whole bunch of random ones, but basically the last four here are like they're the edge that goes on the left side. These next four here are for the bottom. These four are for the right side, and these four are for the top. And the rest of these don't seem to be, they just seem to be kind of a way of differentiating between them. Now, I will point out that on the game here, it looks like this this spot here. I can actually just go up and show you here. These do seem to be well, they seem to combine at an angle here. And in my code, I don't think I'm doing that. I think I'm just letting one overrun the other. And maybe they're designed to blend in some way. Maybe it'll be clearer down here at the bottom. But I'm not going to chase that little piece just yet. So that, I'm just pointing out little things I've observed, maybe more as notes to go back and have a look at it later. But yeah, the stone tile maps come from this. So this is an 8x8 border that goes around the game. All this black stuff is called the Fog of War. And so I also made the Minimap work, which if you look at the Minimap comparisons here, I guess the colors have been assigned differently, and there's a slight difference in the color scheme. My gray for lava is a little bit lighter. My browns are a little bit darker. My greens are a little bit darker. I did place the mines, the castle entrances, and the coloring of the castles. I did get that all working. And I think it's time to start going through what we actually prompted. So I realized, one thing I also do is I dump the output of the game state when my game starts up, and this is really just to check and make sure that I'm managing the memory correctly, getting things set up. In this current version that is open, this guy here. So we have a sorceress castle. So this is us, the human castle. We don't have any resources. I guess we're starting on impossible difficulty. And then players 2, 3, and 4 have been created. For each castle here, we have our castle, which is a sorceress castle. This tells us which spells have been randomly selected. For the Mage Guild, we have all the mines located. They're all neutral. We have the heroes. We've declared them. The one thing that I added was I noticed and we can go in the game here. I think this is Dimitri the Knight. So the heroes have some nominal amount of experience. I've seen it vary from 42 to 72, and then of course as soon as I put in 72, I got a knight that had 73 experience. So it's approximately correct that it's just a tiny amount of token experience, I guess, that makes them a hero. And also the morale and luck modifiers, I added in something to track morale and luck. Whether those are computed in real time or I need to think about how those are going to be computed, but I at least wanted to create some or allocate some kind of memory and storage for that information. I also added in the crests. So what is the crest? Well, this is our knight's crest for a blue, basically the blue flag knight, which we're the color blue. If we were to recruit heroes, okay, let's leave Dimitri here and go back into the castle and look at the possibility of recruiting heroes. So this is what a blue sorceress crest is, and this is what the blue knight's crest. So I realized I needed to have some sort of way to reference what crest are they associated with. And so I just had some background noise. Neighbors doing some construction there. So yeah, anyway, the crest I can pull those up here so you get a look at what some of these crests are. So this is the blue barbarian crest. This is the blue knight's crest, crest 000. If we go ahead to 4, this is what a green knight crest looks like. A green, this is probably the green barbarian. The green sorceress, I think, is the tree. This is the green warlock. And that's probably the red knight. This is the red warlock, I think. Or maybe, yeah, that was probably, this is the yellow knight. So there's basically a crest for each one. I think this might be the sorceress. Then that's probably the warlock, the yellow warlock. And then this here is what you have in the castle when you don't have a hero. So that's like the placeholder that's in the castle. So I don't need to store that necessarily. I can just display that in the castle as like the default state. But I thought I probably needed some kind of memory allocation to store this this crest of these, of the heroes. And so I specified that the lower bits 0 to 3 specify the class, and then the upper 4 bits specify which color it is in that order. And I want to add a morale byte and a luck byte to hero. These will be signed bytes and start at 0. And the reason they're signed is so currently I have neutral luck, so I have no luck modifiers. And then you have, I guess, knights just naturally get a morale bonus, but having all of the same troops gives you a morale bonus as well. If you have 2 different faction troops, then that lowers your morale by 1. If you have some undead in your army somehow, like ghosts or something, that will also lower your morale. So let's just go here. Suddenly we have better luck because we visited the fairy ring, for example. And then I also highlighted the graphic stretching, which I already talked about. I also suspected that the alchemist lab could be due to this resource 32, like basically also due to the stretching or due to some misallocation due to the tile sizes. And then I told the AI about the gray border tiles, how we have a 72 by 72 map, and I want to put 8 tiles of stone on each one. And I gave it an example of what that stone tile is and told it where to look for those actual tiles. So it figured out some things. It set the fixed resources. So that's the other thing. So like this is always wood. This is always mercury. And these are stored in the 8th byte. They are stored as an image on the tile. So the map actually says there's an image here of mercury. And the tile, I thought, well, maybe there's a value in byte 9. Like there's a byte 9 value here for the griffins. That the number's 25, so there's 25 griffins here. But there was nothing here. So I realized, oh, okay, I probably have to set a value for this randomly. So random resource value. And I think I set it at 6. And then of course I went here and gathered this, gathered the mercury, and it turned out to be like 7 the first time I did it. Yeah, here it is. It's 7 again. So 7 is maybe the upper limit, maybe 8. I'm just still kind of reverse engineering some of the random allocations of what this can be. Yeah, and then it set the hero experience. It added hero crest, morale, luck, and it created the stone tile border. Made all these different changes and explained some of the code for how it did it, and the sprite stretching fix, how it fixed that. So now it uses the actual sprite dimensions and offsets instead of just making everything 32 by 32. And yeah, it paused because that was a fairly big computation for it. I hit continue. It gave me the 3 files. I uploaded those, and I give it some feedback. I said, hey, that the spec fixed the positions. This is great. Thank you. One thing that happened is I was in my previous video, I had talked about updating the random selection of the artifacts. When I loaded the map, like 4 or 5 of the random artifacts were all the same artifact. It was the astrolabe, which is this this golden pendant that that lets you move around on the sea. Maybe we'll see it here. Point it out. It's one of these artifacts. It's like the Traveler's Compass, but it only works on the sea. And so it wasn't very useful, and it caught my attention like, oh yeah, all these are being repeated. So I changed it so we randomly select without replacement, and basically what it does is it randomized. I mean, I guess it'll explain here what it did. It randomized the 33 entries of possible random artifacts, which are basically excluding the spellbook and excluding the 4 ultimate artifacts. You end up with 33 in hex. You get 33 values. And so it does a randomization of those orders, and then you pick from the 33 artifacts that have been randomized. And so that fixed that. And then I noticed on the mini-map here, what was happening is I would go up here, and this would be this corner. So the mini-map was like offset, so this viewable area selector was offset by about well, basically by 8 tiles in each direction. So I pointed that out to the AI and kind of showed it this picture. You can see it here. That when you're up here, this was actually mapped to the corner, and that's not correct behavior. So I explained what was going on there. And then I also had this black line running down, and some of these this coloring was kind of off and strange. And so I started looking into why this was happening. Well, it very quickly, like, it understood what was going on here. There was a rounding error causing that black line. The viewport indicator had this offset that was it said was mistakenly starting at 0, 0, and it was going to look into the color variation. It fixed a number of these, but when I then looked at the color uniformity that it came up with, the colors were like way off. The water suddenly became brown and green became green, and the lava became snow, and the swamp became snow. So the AI kind of bungled that one. And I started looking around, and I found this ground tile 6, and I thought, like, hey, maybe this is what the mini map is using. And the first thing that the AI tried was actually just like doing a computational average of the original ground tiles, and it did look a little better, but I also, like, everything was moving slower, and so I called it out. I said, this is noticeably more computationally intensive. I think you need to do some better, you need some better context from me about these ground tiles. Ground 32 has 123 types of basic ground, and I said 100, and yeah, there's actually 124 because I didn't include the zero based indexing there. And there's 20 each for water, grass, snow, swamp, lava, desert, and then there's 4 dirt tiles at the end. I'm not sure why there's only 4, but that was that. And then I pointed out, oh, maybe the minimap is being made from these ground 6, these 6 by 6 pixel pieces, which if you look very closely there, you can see they're kind of like lava, dirt, half lava, 3/4 dirt, 1/4 lava. That's kind of how these pixels are designed. And so I thought, well, why don't we try making the minimap from these ground 6 tiles? So I did this. It came up with something. It tried using those pixels. It made it a little better, but it still wasn't quite what I had expected. And then I sat down and I created the actual mapping explaining what the heck each of these tiles were. And it says, great, now I have the full picture. I hate it when the AI says that, because that's a sign it's going to go off the rails. But it described something here, comes up with this, and the code logic looks like it wasn't updated. You may have updated the mapping, but not the code. Let's fix the code. It tries again, and then I realized, oh, it's actually just going to the fallback because something is just breaking horribly. So I called this out. I said, please look into why it's breaking, and we're ending up in the fallback case. Good diagnosis. This is what working with the AI is like. It's wonderful. It makes a lot of progress, and then sometimes it's just boneheaded. So it's looking through these frames. I'm giving it some guidance and saying, let's ground 6 is what it is. Let's FID that. I guess I meant to say fix that. This is what came out of the ground using the ground 6. So you see the colors are like actually a little better. It's kind of this spring green, some brown, some dark for the lava, but everything has this kind of beige noise to it. And then I showed it, this is what the actual game should look like. And I realized, like, oh, hey, yeah, we need to be doing these boxes for the mines, for the neutral castle, and we should have colored boxes for each faction's castle, and then a little pixel on the entrance. And then I realized maybe this ground 6 tile is actually for a different map in the game, like view all, which that's probably what these tiles are for. These are probably for when you cast the spell, view all or view mines or view heroes. These are what the game uses to draw the smaller map. So I realized that's probably what was going on. This is then what it came up with, and so the lava here is a little bit red, the swamp is a little green, these boxes are a little smaller. Even the mines aren't quite the right size. I wanted them to be 2 boxes wide. So I just called that out and said 2 tiles of the mines need to be gray. The castles are 8 colored tiles. The castle tile entrance should be gray. And then the mountains and trees, the areas where you can't like move your hero, they need to be represented by a darker shade of the base land color. So slightly darker brown on dirt, slightly darker green on grass. The lava should also be a darker gray and not a red. And so at this point, that actually looked pretty good, and this is what we ended up with in the mini map, which again doesn't map 100% to the to what's in the game, but it's pretty close, and I can fine-tune that later. This is really just going in and doing some palette adjustments. So we'll worry about that later. And then I did a summary of what was changed. So we added the morale, luck, and the crest to the hero data. We, I guess, added a little bit of the sprite sizing fix and I guess it changed 4 passes instead of. So it changed something in the rendering pipeline. The comprehension debt is growing here as we automate some of this. The hero generation, we added some experience. We updated how the artifacts are assigned, and we assigned values to the resource piles, which you can see down here. I think there were like 10 random resources and then a number of fixed resources. Now these are all being set to some value, and I may need to update this range to be 7 or 8 at the top level. And then I added the stone border and some notes on the minimap. Well, then I was ready to start the fog of war, and I gave it an example image of like, hey, this is what the fog of war looks like. These are the fog of war tiles that we're using. This is the fog of war specification that we're dealing with, and I started a new chat with Claude because I wanted to use tokens more efficiently. When you have really long chats, it's good to start a new chat every so often, both to keep the AI more focused on it, on what you're trying to do, and to just remove some of the unnecessary context. And then it also uses your tokens more efficiently. Like you can do more before you hit a limit. So here I start explaining the fog of war. I had created it in memory. I had created a basically 172 by 72 bit mask to show where the hero has explored. I counted roughly, I think it was like a 5 tile radius. It's probably really like 5.5, because you get these tile edges on. I'm just gonna restart this. So you get these tile edges here, like these, which are partial. This is a partial tile that's being shown, and so I'm explaining, okay, so as the hero moves around, he can explore and see in all directions, and the edges are not computed as a true radius, but as like a straight line between visible edges on this radius, so it looks like a stop sign. And I included the spec of this clop 32, which I'm referring to. This clop 32 is actually partial. And then I have another thing that I call cloth 32 here. These are the not partial tiles that make up this sort of broader cosmos space looking image of the fog of war. And I explain kind of what that is. I give it some example definitions of the tiles, and I show like tile 4, which is this tile here. Wait, is that right? No, I think was that tile 22. Should be 22, Y should be 004, and Z should be 003. So I think I'm explaining which tiles. So this combination of 22, 3 would be where Z is, 22 would be where X is, and 4 would be where Y is, to show like a proper fog of war diagram. I was kind of hoping the AI would just understand, oh, these images kind of correlate to these potential bit masks of this 72 by 72 grid. And that's not really what happened, but I also mentioned that I wanted to add this cheat code for the game 101495 to clear the fog of war, which I could use for debugging and checking things. So it says, okay, I understand. We're going to do this 101495 buffer to reveal all the fog. it has to add a keyboard buffer detection. So it's going to store the last 6 key presses, and if those ever equal 101,495, then it's going to perform this action. So it created this. Let's see, where is it? Reveal all function that is triggered by that. And what happened? What was our first response? Well, it's not terrible, but it's this is it. So it was putting these CLOF tiles at the edge and just kind of picking some random noise tiles. And then this other stuff was just darker. Like if I had scrolled up, you could actually see the difference between the water and the land. So it was just kind of like, it was more like it was grayed out and almost translucent. And then on the edges, it was treating this border of the map like an edge instead of how the game actually treats it, where it's actually like now it's correct, but this is correct behavior. And so I came up with this document here, where I actually mapped out. I came up with some nomenclature to describe what each tile functionally does, and I thought that would help. I did my best to explain it, but I really giving it this file was like the best sort of context trick that I could come up with. It does some studying, comes up with some stuff, tries to come up with some new methods for this this fog lookup section, which I also suggested here. Maybe we should do this in a fog lookup function. Maybe we should make it a separate file and import it into game main CPP to prevent the game main CPP from getting too large, because this is kind of complicated. It could blow up a little bit in terms of file size, and once I have it working, I don't really want to be messing with it too much, and having that be context for other requests I'm going to make of the AI. Well, this was the result. Not much better. You know, it changed some of the files, some of the tiles, but not much better. And then again, I gave it, hey, this is the expected behavior. So I first called out what was happening here is it was putting the edge tiles, and then it was putting the CLOF tiles, the full tiles underneath that, and blocking these out. And that's not what's supposed to happen. So if we click over here, you can see the difference here. Like here, we're supposed to be able to see a little bit of this, a little bit of this treasure chest, a little bit of this monster, a little bit of the tree stumps, and a little bit of the sawmill here. And we're not seeing that. So I realized, okay, well, why don't we remove those tiles, and let's see what happens. So it does another rewrite, and I report back, okay, we still have these edge effect tiles, that's not being done correctly. And then over here, this is now correctly not putting the CLOF tiles underneath, these full tiles underneath. But you'll also notice that this is not rendering the stuff. So these level 1 and level 2 sprites underneath this are not being rendered. So it's skipping the rendering pass. So I needed to call that out. And so I specifically, I showed it this image of what it's doing, and then I specifically called out which tiles it was using and why they were incorrect. So I literally mapped out, hey, this is what you're doing that's incorrect there, and this is what you're doing that's incorrect here, and this is what the corrected version should be. So it studies that, fixes the rendering pass, does some mirroring, This is what we ended up with. Still not rendering underneath. Still not rendering the correct ones. This looks a little better. And this is where I called out the rendering order. I thought I did it last time, but now I did it this time correctly here. So I called out the layer 1 and layer 2 renders are being skipped if there's a clop above the tile. That should not be happening. You should do the full render of any layer 1 and layer 2 renders under the clop tiles. The clop is, like, I guess, shorthand for partial, versus CLOF is full. That's my guess as to the naming. So now it understands, tries again. You know, we're on like our 5th iteration of this. So now you can see these are being rendered. We had some rogues here. These are being rendered, but all of this is still, like, this is actually being mirrored incorrectly. It's actually getting the correct, these little correct edge tiles here, like I think 22 and 15 are, they just cover this. They're just missing this little corner here. And so it's getting those correct. And now I then again explain what it's doing wrong, and say, take another look and see if you can correct the fog map. Gives it a shot. Still, it's better, but now everything is mirrored incorrectly. So if these were mirrored 100, like horizontally mirrored, they would be correct, and same with these. So we're very close, but the horizontal mirroring is off. And so I give it a little more prompting, and that worked. So this final file here actually did work. What I'm concerned about though with it is that it's not actually going to handle all of the cases. This is just kind of handling the basic cases. But I have a plan for how to deal with that in the future. But I basically need to start getting hero movement going, which is one of the next phases I'm going to be, next phases of the project is I'm going to start getting the heroes to move around the map, start animating things. And then we'll worry about the Fog of War updating function and basically try and expand it to cover more cases. And then I also noticed, I tested out the Dragon Rider map, and the hero spawns in a different location there. And so I wanted to make sure that if the hero spawns in a different location, we open up some tiles around the castle, because you can technically see some of the Fog of War from around your castle. So I just added, hey, let's add 4 tiles around the castle. It'll be redundant in this case, but just for the cases of maps where the Fog of War doesn't, the Fog of War, like, you should be able to see around your castle. So if your hero starts somewhere else, the Fog of War should be exposed around your hero and around your castle. And then I said, okay, let's summarize, let's document everything, and that was the end of the Fog of War there. Finally, I did test with the Dragon Rider map, which is a community-made map made by Jason Church that won some contest of like the Windows 95 map editor, and then they included it in Free Heroes 2, or not Free Heroes 2. They included it in Heroes of Might and Magic 2 as a starting map. So you can play it in Free Heroes 2, and maybe I'll play that one day. But I still like playing the original one on Heroes of Might and Magic 1. But I basically had to explain to the game, you know, I found this bug when we have a game made with a Windows 95 map editor, the game isn't handling these heroes correctly. So we're not putting the heroes on the map. So I had found in my previous video that was located at 0xC7, or sorry, it wasn't located. 0xC7 is the byte 8 tile code on the tile map that tells you that it's a hero placement. And then the hero ID is the value in byte 9 -1. So that tells you which hero is there. And so I then wanted to update my rendering engine to draw those heroes and create the, draw them at the coordinates of the tile that has the byte 8 equal to 0xC7 hex value. So it did this, and the heroes were rendering. And then I ran into this issue of the Windows 95 maps not assigning the correct castle to the heroes were being assigned correctly to the players, but the castle assignment was being done differently. So there's something. This is a bug. This is a problem that I have with reverse engineering. There's something where the castle assignment and the hero assignment in the Windows 95 map editor, when the heroes are not starting in the castle, there's something strange going on with the assignment to the players, and I need to figure that out. I probably, I'm using the Dragon Rider map. I probably need to look at a couple other community-made maps, or make my own map and test, come up with the right reverse engineering of this to make it work correctly. So Dragon Rider is currently broken. I can either start with the correct castle, or I can start with the correct hero and the wrong castle. And I haven't figured that out yet. So, but I did get the basic piece working, where I can render a hero at a location. And I also had, I think I mentioned that it was also rendering heroes in each castle. So the default behavior was for the DOS games is to render a hero in the castle. You can't necessarily specify the heroes in the DOS maps very easily. I mean, you technically can, but they don't start with Fog of War opened up around them. So to play using the DOS game to play Dragon Rider, as I demonstrated in a previous video, you have to do the 101-495, and then suddenly everything works fine. But the Fog of War doesn't correctly account for a hero starting outside of the castle in the DOS version of the game. Only the Windows 95 version accounts for that. So so the DOS behavior was carrying over into the Windows 95 version, and it was generating basically a free hero for the computer for each of their castles. And I fixed that because I thought that was a bit of an unfair advantage for the hero in the Dragon Rider map. But yeah, that's the status of things right now. I did go down a rabbit hole here of trying to get the Windows 95 castle suffix, the castle assignment and hero assignment to work. And the AI just kind of went off the rails, and I reverted my changes. I just rolled it back to this first format, because this was the fix. Made a git commit there and said this is as far as we're going to get on this piece today. The rest of this is not something that I think we're gonna focus on right now. So yeah, this is the status of things. What I want to do next is get this hero moving around, get him moving around the screen, and maybe some animation, maybe some tiles, and then see if I can explore and break the Fog of War a little bit. Other major things would be events where you enter, you either pick up a treasure chest, pick up some gold, pick up some peasants here. I want to start creating some tile interactions. I want to be able to interact with the hero, with the castle, and have a battle. So these are all kind of major pieces of the game engine that are on the agenda. But next up is just getting the hero to move around and open up the map a little more. And then we'll start to work on actions after that. So that's all for now. Talk to you guys later.